So I'm saying there is no single solution obviously which will work for all areas. And also